Since the dawn of the civilization, India was the land of Vedas, abounded with spirituality, bhakti, and yoga. Vedas are the most authentic source of knowledge, both material and spiritual. Vedas also inform us when God comes to earth, where He will appear, how does He look, what He does during His advent, and so on. Vedic scriptures unanimously declares Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is certainly an exciting revelation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejuvenated the Krishna Bhakti. Gaudiya refers to the Gaud region of undivided Bangla, and Vaishnavism means the worship of Lord Vishnu. The philosophical basis of Vaishnavism is Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran, as well as other Puranic scripture and Upanishads. In the land of Bengal, the rise of Vaishnavism came into prominence with the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 15th century. But in the 17th and 18th century, there was a period of general decline in the Vaishnavism movement. This period was followed by a renaissance which began at the start of the 20th AD. This change is believed to have happened largely due to the efforts of particularly adept preacher Bhakti Vinoda Thakur and later by Srila Prabhupada. While working to reform Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur prayed to God for carrying out this mammoth task to spread message of Lord Chaitanya. His prayer was answered and Srila Prabhupada appeared on the 5th day of the dark lunar fortnight of the month of Govinda, corresponding to February 6, 1874 AD, in Puri, next to the holy site called the Narayan Chhata in Purushottam Khetra in the state of Odisha. At birth, his umbilical cord was wrapped around him exactly as a Brahmana, which is a very rare and special phenomenon. At the time of his birth, all 32 bodily symptoms of a Mahapurusa, a great personality, were pointed out by an experienced astrologer who proclaimed, "This is not an ordinary person. He is a Mahapurusa and endowed with all the highest excellences of spiritual characteristics." His mother gave him the name Bimla Prasad after the incident at the age of 6 months during Lord Jagannath's annual chariot festival. That year, the chariot stopped in front of his house and could not be budged an inch for 3 days. On one of these days, Bimla Prasad in his mother's arms went to see Lord Jagannatha and extended his hand towards the deity as if to offer his obeisance. At that moment, a garland fell from the neck of Lord Jagannath and encircled the child. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur fed Bimla Prasad some of Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad and thus observed the child's Annaprasan under the most auspicious circumstances. When he was a small boy, perhaps 2 or 3 years old, Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur brought some ripe mangoes from the market. Bimla Prasad took one to eat, saying, "This is mine." Bhakti Vinoda Thakur got up and said in a grave voice,
"What is this? New fruit has come into the house. It has not been offered to Giridhari yet, and you have taken it first? Remember, new fruit is to be given first to the Lord. Without giving the first share to the Lord, nothing is to be taken."
The child was very repentant and exclaimed, "Oh, what evil thoughts I have had! Throughout my whole life, I shall not eat these again. This is the right punishment for one ruled by greed." He made the promise and observed it throughout his whole life. When Bimla Prasad was just 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could even explain its verses. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, his father, trained him in proofreading and printing in conjunction with the publishing of the Vaishnava magazine Shojjana Toshani. At the age of 11, while in the 5th class, Bimla Prasad shows his multifaceted talent and invented a type of shorthand writing called Bikanto. He was trained in Sanskrit, mathematics and Vedic astrology. By the time he was 25, he received the epithet Sidhanta Saraswati in recognition of his erudition. At the age of 26, his father guided him to take initiation from a renounced Vaishnava saint, Gaura Kishora Dasa Babaji. After Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, a period of darkness ensued, in which the river of Bhakti had been choked and practically dried up. The end of the period was brought about by the undaunted preaching of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and later by Srila Prabhupada. During that time, Bengal was full of Sahajya sects who followed worldly practices in the name of spiritualism. Srila Prabhupada launched a severe attack against those irreligious sects and did not spare anyone who deviated from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Prabhupada was known as Lion Guru due to his fearless and ferocious preaching. After passing away of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Gaura Kishore Das a year later, Saraswati Thakur found himself very lonely to fulfill the cause that was bestowed upon him by his father and Guru. But one night in his dream, he saw Gaur Sundar himself appearing in east of Natya Mandir of Yogpeeth temple at Sridham Mayapur with his Panchatatmok Shankirtan Mandali comprising all Goswamis, Acharyas and his Gurus were appearing before him and guide him in the path of spreading holy teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world. Srila Bhakti Sidhanta reorganized this royal court, Sri Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha, an age-old tradition of Vaishnavism started by Srila Jiva Goswami in 16th century AD. In December 1918, Bhakti Siddhanta inaugurated his first center called Calcutta Bhakti Vinoda Asana in North Calcutta, and the first Gaudiya Mutt was established at that time. He initiated 25 highly educated persons into Tridandi Sannyas and deputed these well-disciplined sannyasis to preach the message of Lord Gaurango all over the world. On December 16, 1924, Saraswati Thakur came to the Banaras Hindu University to lecture on the place of Vaishnavism in the world's religions. Afterwards, he and his followers went to places in Kashi, visited by Mahaprabhu, then to Prayag, where he indicated the exact spot where Rupa Goswami had taken instruction from Mahaprabhu, and then to Arail, where Mahaprabhu had met with Ballavacharya. He also met there with Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, the then president of Hindu Mahasabha. Knowledge to the mankind was spread by Vedavyas. Srila Prabhupada also spread Vaishnavism and preached the world like Vedavyas. On the Tithi commemorating the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance in the world, the first Vyas Puja in his honor was held at Calcutta Gaudiya Mutt. Since then, all Gaudiya moths and associated missions celebrate Vyas Puja in an exclusive way in India and all over the world. The first Brajamandal Parikrama began in 1932. Saraswati Thakur and his disciples circumambulating Brajamangala during Kartik month. In Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada arrived with his many non-Brahmin disciples. This created stir in caste-conscious Brahmin and Vrindavan, and all the main temples closed their door in protest. Only the Radharaman temple opened its door and welcomed Sri Prabhupada and his disciples. While the foundation of the Adbhut Mandir Mayapur was done in 1934, it was completed an year after with a grand celebration on Gaur Purnima in 1935. It was attended by thousands of pilgrims and devotees with Harinam Sankirtan. King of Tripura, Maharaj Veer Vikram Kishore Dev Bahadur, attended this celebration and was so pleased to see the development of Sri Chaitanya's birthplace. Sir John Anderson, then Governor of Bengal, visited the Mayapur on personal invitation and presented the official proclamation of Yogapeeth Mayapur as authentic birth site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For 6 years, he continued to supervise this preaching work, and when he found that his mission had attained its goal, he decided to pass it into the eternal service of Gaurango, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, for infinity. While staying at Bagbajar Gaudiya Math on January 1st, 1937, at 5:30 a.m., Srila Prabhupada concluded his pastime, returned to abode at Supreme Lord. Much to the wonder for everyone, all clocks at Math stopped at that moment. A special train was arranged to take his body for Samadhi at Yogapeeth Mayapur and was led to the rest near his Guru Gaurakishore Das Babaji. Along the way, thousands of people gathered to pay their homage to this great soul for his selfless service for Sri Chaitanya to the benefit of entire mankind. From the time of his accepting Tridandi Sannyas in 1918 till his disappearance in 1937, Gaudiya Math flourished under his guidance. The Gaudiya Math had established 64 branches. Most were in India, but preaching centers were maintained for a time in Burma, England, and Germany. The first European preaching center was established in London in 1933 under the name Gaudiya Mission Society of London. The mission, initiated by Bhakti Thakur and developed by Bhakti Sidhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada, emerged as the most powerful reformist movement of Vaishnavism in Bengal of the 19th and early 20th century. Establishing temples, defeating opposing philosophy, recruiting thousands of converted souls to the doctrine of divine path, and publishing the ancient and modern texts in periodicals, books, newspapers, and distributing them throughout India and abroad. Beside his phenomenal preaching, Srila Prabhupada has also contributed many of his disciples to spread the message of Vaishnavism. Abhay Charan De, later known as A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, was one of them who took inspiration from Srila Prabhupada and spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This hermeneutic dynamism and spirit of adaptation employed by Srila Prabhupada became an important element in the growth of the Gaudiya Math worldwide and facilitated its future global growth.